All right, so today this is very special for me because I'm getting to know Bernie Williams personally, and anyone who doesn't know Bernie Williams and is a baseball fan is living under a rock somewhere. He, as you all know, he's the beloved center fielder from one of the great eras in Yankee history. But personally, I am getting to know Bernie as a musician, and some of you already may know that Bernie is a dedicated musician. And and he's a great guitar player. He and I have worked several times together. He's got a beautiful sound, and just as dedicated as Bernie was to becoming a great baseball player, he is that dedicated to music. So I thought it would be a very interesting conversation to talk about something that is so unique to Bernie Williams. There aren't many people in the world, Bernie, that can say they're doing what you're doing, because you had this beautiful career as an athlete, and you are really seriously dedicated to your art now. So I'm going to just begin by asking you if you could just paint a picture for me of growing up as you're becoming the ball player that you became. Music didn't come out of the blue. You were obviously interested in music early on. Can you kind of tell me and all of us, how that went for you, how early you were playing guitar, and how the connection between playing and sports worked for you?
Yeah, well, thank you, Robert, for having me. And doing this talk. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten more used to appreciating, all these opportunities to talk about my career. There's just one interesting point that when I was playing and I was doing all that thing with the Yankees, I purposely told myself, do not think about anything else. Don't think about your successes. Don't think about anything that you have accomplished, because the moment that you start doing that, you're going to start getting complacent. So always
Mhm.
think about the next thing. Always think about the next at bat. Always think about the next season. And
Mhm.
it kind of worked because it kind of kept me on my toes and it kept me humble. Really pursuing, perfection in that field, which it can never be attained, but you can find excellence along the way. But the other side of the coin on that mentality was that I forgot a lot. I forgot a
Uh-huh.
lot of things
Yeah.
that happened along the way. So it's great that I know that they're there somewhere in the back of my mind, but it's situations like this that sort of trigger some thoughts that maybe I have forgotten over years. So I really appreciate the opportunity to relive some of those moments.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, to answer that question, I think that my whole relationship with music and sports came out of especially my mother's mentality
Mhm.
about education. For her, education was the way that she would provide for us to get out of the situation that we were. I mean, we weren't rich, we weren't privileged, we didn't have a lot of wealth. But my mom was an educator, and she knew that education was going to be the key for us to get out of our situation where we were. And to her credit, she designed, in her view and her vision, kids that were going to be stable, hopefully physically and emotionally and
Mhm.
spiritually. And in that sense, she introduced arts and sports as a way of keeping, I guess, a sound mind and a sound body. Sort of like going into that Greek kind of mentality about
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
Educating the body, the spirit, and the mind at the same time. And I give her a lot of credit because even though even though the time that I was a prominent baseball player, she was always stressing the fact that I needed to go to college and finish my education, and
Mhm.
keeping up with that because I knew that baseball was going to be a short career in the grand scheme of things, but the life that I was going to have after that will certainly require me to have some degree of education. So in that sense, by the time I was about 7 or 8 years old, she got me into, with my father as well. My father was more instrumental in other things, but the initiative of my mom to have us play an instrument. And my thing was guitar. I fell in love with playing the guitar because of my dad. He was a merchant marine. And he came down to Puerto Rico to sort of raise us and retire from that life, traveling all these places and all these countries. And he just happened to have brought a guitar with him, and he taught himself how to play, sort of a rudimentary style, like traditional Puerto Rican or Latin music.
Yeah,
The boleros and the rumbas and all that, the songbook of traditional Puerto Rican music, and I started listening to those sounds, and they intrigued me. From the first time I listened to them, and there was one time I asked him if he could teach me how to play, and he taught me my first couple of chords, and from that moment on, I developed this great love for music, especially for the guitar, because that was the instrument that I sort of related to the most. But at the same time, my mom was very adamant about us having good grades in school, really envisioning us to be prominent professionals, being a doctor or an architect. By the way, my brother, is a lawyer down in Puerto Rico, and he's also a cellist.
I think you mentioned that.
Way before I started playing baseball, I was able to get this great opportunity to attend this performing arts school in Spanish. It's called Escuela Libre de Música, and it was in San Juan, so we had to wake up very early because we grew up in the countryside of the island, get through all the morning rush traffic, and ride about an hour or so before we got to the school. And then in subsequent years after that, that was the first part of the process. And then after that, we had to go to a baseball field or a track field, to resume our athletics. And then right after that, we would go home and finish our homework, trying to get something to eat, and then go to sleep to rinse and repeat for the next day. So it was a grueling schedule, and I remember a couple of times rebelling as a teenager would. I was like, this is way too much. But I think in hindsight, it was the best thing that they could have ever done for me and my brother, and I will be eternally grateful to them to just have us, to just give us that opportunity to be well educated, and or at least have that mentality to be educated. And it just happened to be that I developed this great ability to play baseball, and at a very young age, I was looked at by different scouts and different coaches. And by the time I was 15, 16, I was already under the eye of different scouts that saw me play. And things were kind of different in Puerto Rico as far as, there was not really a draft. There was not really a selection process that you would pick out, the best athletes. So a talent would come out, and we will come out with like $20,000-$30,000, and he would sign 10 or 20 players, and they would like ship him up to spring training, and out of those 20, 30 players, maybe about 15 or 20 or 20, whatever would be released that same spring training. So you would like lose your ability to become an amateur player. You wouldn't play in the Olympics or anything like that. So just because you wanted to pursue that sort of professional status, but it was just basically dog eats dog, and just always feeling like I was a gladiator, kind of like competing with all those players. And it took me about 5.5 years to make it to the big leagues as a player with the Yankees, which is the only organization that I've played for. But at the same time, I was always practicing my guitar. I always kept it with me because I developed a really intense and really intimate relationship with music. And it was just one of the things that I used to do. And I used to bring him everywhere. Practice, play for my friends. I would like show off a little bit. And it was just a great thing that I've had, over the years, and it has grown exponentially over the course of my life. And I decided, once I stopped playing baseball, I would just go into music, as sort of a full-time thing.
Yeah. And did you have a group of friends that were your music friends that did not relate to you as a ball player? Was there a segregated group? Because I kind of had a little bit of that growing up, but I'm curious whether that was true for you.
No, I think, I kept both groups pretty much separate. I
Uh-huh.
think I had a group of friends that I grew up with in that performing arts high school that
Hmm.
we sort of played, some sports with, but it
Hmm.
wasn't as dedicated or as organized as, the other side of my life, which was happening in parallel.
Yeah.
And I had a different set of friends that I was playing little leagues with, and I was running track with. So I sort of kept them. I mean, circumstances also kept the whole thing kind of separate.
Hmm. Now, Bernie, I describe you to my buddies that don't know you and maybe only heard you play just a very little bit. I always tell them that I think that one of the things that I love about hearing you play is that you're a very thoughtful musician. You brought that kind of care and thoughtfulness, I think, to your career as a ball player. But I absolutely feel that you are a very thoughtful musician, and that those are the best musicians. You really care a lot about your sound. You care about wanting things to be right. You care about learning all the time, and so what I'm really curious about, because you probably didn't at the time growing up think about how one aspect of your life was informing the other, but now in hindsight, with your baseball career behind you, but your musicianship and your music career fully blooming. If someone was to ask you, what has your life as a musician taught you about becoming a good player or a better player, a growing musician, that that maybe makes the pairing of music and sports a lot closer than maybe people would think, right? You're hitting a baseball 450 feet. People are like, well, what does that have to do with making a great sound on the guitar? But beyond the obvious is a lot of other things that make a great athlete or a great musician. Do you have any specific thoughts that you'd like to share about that, about how one has taught the other, if
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense?
I have a lot of thoughts on that, and I've been thinking about this for a long time. And as a matter of fact, I was a co-writer in a book that we wrote as a group called "The Rhythms of the Game," which I try to make this parallel between the performance as an athlete on the field and bringing it back to music performance on stage.
Hmm.
And I was able to draw a lot of similarities. Uh, I think that the one thing that I really noticed a lot was the fact that they both require to go above and beyond the Call of Duty when it comes to your preparation,
Hmm.
and just to master the fundamentals of it. Whether it was practicing. Hitting a baseball, going, doing soft toss, doing the drills,
Hmm.
throwing the ball, and hitting and catching and doing all of that require a certain amount of time that I needed to spend to develop this muscle memory,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
I could think about other things because I didn't have to think about my technique.
Hmm.
And having your technique being a hindrance, not being a hindrance of the things that you can do because you can't really execute your thoughts. Execute what you really want to do, whether it's with the bat or with the ball or
Hmm.
with an instrument.
Hmm.
I think that's a great parallel because once you master the fundamentals and all those drills, it allows you to go above and beyond that and start thinking about the instrument or the playing as a form of an art.
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
you get all your creativity and all your things going in that, because you're able to think beyond the beyond the process of preparation and
No, I
thinking
think,
about the
yeah.
technique and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah.
To me, that was the one thing that allowed me to, especially in music, sort of thinking that it was more of a language than anything
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
It wasn't until maybe by the time I was maybe taking courses at the Manhattan School of Music when I started making really this association with the emotional content of the art,
Hmm.
and having it be beyond the skill level that you need to have to perform that. And I think that is a really, really important thing because listening to players that are in that sort of an intermediate or maybe just early advance, a lot of people just focus on the technique and it focus a lot on the pyrotechnics, and being like very efficient and very proficient in what they do, but there's not a lot of emotional content in the music, and there's certainly a directly proportional relationship between the skill level and the emotional content that you actually are able to put because you have that all that thing down path. So that was the thing that I was able to get, making adjustments from one at bat to the other when I was playing, making sure that I was able to hit that low and outside pitch or curveball, or lay off of it. That required me to completely have complete control of my ability as a baseball player. And that's when I could make adjustments and improvise and doing all this stuff because I didn't have to think about my technique. So that was the one thing that I was able to put into music. I was figuring out maybe if I can do, everything that I'm set out to do in the guitar, maybe I can start thinking in emotional terms and how to bring this music that I hear and this music that I play, breathe some life into it so that the audience can hear that there's a certain substance to the music and not just about mere notes.
Oh, I love that. Bernie, years and years ago, Aaron Copland was talking to me about similar things, and he once also said, because in orchestration you can dazzle people with all this color and all, just technical things that are beyond imagination, just wild stuff. But he used to say that may all be well and good, but what you really look for in music, he didn't directly say the emotional content. I think he always implied that it better be there. Otherwise, why write music at all? But he used to say, look for the air of inevitability in music. If you find that on a page, there's wasted notes that you just put there because you think you're, advertising your musical genetics or something, that, assess it, get rid of it if it's not there because doesn't feel inevitable in music. So it's I find that to be an interesting thing because guitar playing, right? There's a lot of guitar players that live on their pyrotechnics and people are dazzled, whoa, but 5 minutes later, do you look back on that experience and go, boy, I really felt something? Often that's not the case, and I'm certainly not surprised to hear you speak about music like that. I was going to ask you, when you mentioned about performance and, these parallels that we're talking about, you do a lot of performing now. In fact, I'm really bummed that I didn't get to see you with Will Lee a month or so ago, and I think he was at a trio. Did you have Gil and Yale?
Yeah, Gil and a great drummer singer by the name of Josh Dion. He's actually touring with John Scofield right now.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, he was the four of us, and it was in Maplewood, New Jersey, and we had. I mean, Will gets everything that I'm saying right now. He embodies all of that.
Yeah, he's
great vision. So I was able to learn a lot from him, in the time that I've met him, and it was just such a great treat to play with him.
Yeah, he's a special player. I know him fairly well, as we've talked about, and yeah, he's amazing. And I want to ask you, so you're performing a lot. Do you find that when you get on stage before you start playing, do you feel that you're as nervous before you play as you may have been? Because a baseball game in front of 50,000 people it's a performance as much as other things, right? You want to do well in front of all those people. Do you think that you feel that same rush of nerves getting on stage as you may have felt getting up to bat in front of 50,000 people?
Yeah, and I think I always try to make the distinction between that state of mind. I wouldn't call it one way or the other because I think it to me it depended on my level of preparation and confidence that I had going into whatever I was doing. If the one thing that I would say is that the more you prepare, the better feeling you're going to get going into it. Uh, but this level of uncertainty that happens more in baseball than it would in music. Because in music, you really get out what you put in. And if you really work on your stuff and you know you have it right there, chances are that your performance will be one that will be similar to your practice level, because you get to trust it and you say, I have prepared.
Right.
But
Right.
one of the things that I find a difference is that, in baseball, you can prepare as much as you can and as much as you want, but there's this level of unpredictability that happens that you
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah.
control. You
Right.
cannot control the pitcher just throwing lights out. A
Yeah.
pitch on the block, and you
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have no chance.
Uh-huh.
You have no control of the umpire. Calling a
Uh-huh.
bad pitch on you at a certain
Yeah.
situation.
Right.
The
Great
only
point.
thing that you can control is try to do the things that you can control as far as the preparation, your technique, and your approach. You do your research, you study the pitcher, you study the defense, so you are there prepared. And more times than not, I would go inward, because that was the thing that worked for me. In baseball, like you said, if I would start thinking about the 50,000 people that was on that particular stadium, plus the millions of people that were watching on TV, I
Yeah.
will be a nervous wreck. I will be like, oh
Yeah.
my God. But
Yeah.
then what happens is that you rely on your preparation, and you sort of fool yourself into saying, hey, the dimensions will be the same whether there was like 50,000 people or 10. So
Uh-huh.
it's the same field. The guys are going to have to come to you. You have good, dominance of the strike zone. Your swing is
Uh-huh.
good. You see everything well. You know what the guy is going to throw to you. So why are you worried about this? Just play the game. Let it unfold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the way that I was able to prepare for the game, because I would go inward and say, you don't have to listen to any of this, fans. You don't have to listen to, actually, the more people that were at the stadium, the easier it got, because you would hear this roar, what I would call like white noise. It's like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but you don't hear much of that unless something happens, that is relevant, and people start, chanting.
Yeah.
The problem is when you have like the rain delay and then somebody else comes in, you get like 10,000 people and you hear every word that they're
That's
saying.
right. Every sentence. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. But I was able to translate that whole mentality into music. And it proved to me very effective. Just making sure that I had control, and obviously prior to my level of proficiency, that I would have control of what I was doing, and I was preparing as much as I could. But the challenge that I had in music, as opposed to baseball, was the fact that I had to talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to talk to people. You have to engage the audience
That's
into what
right.
you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was always the most challenging part for me, because in baseball, I'd just be silent. I would just
Yeah.
concentrate on playing and hitting the
Yeah.
ball and pitching and running the bases. And I would
Right.
hear the roar of the crowd, but I didn't have to interact with them. I
Right.
could just be concentrated on my game.
Mhm.
As a musician, if I do that, the music could be great, but if there's no connection with the audience, then it'll be a less than ideal experience, especially for the people listening. So
Yeah.
I had to engage into this sort of connecting, other than my playing, connecting, verbally with them, and let them know that they were welcome into my world, and the band's, conversation that we were having on stage. So that was always has gotten better over time, but has always been a challenge for me.
Oh, that's an excellent way to put it, and I completely understand. I want to just for 1 second, just interject, because of everything you just said about people watching you and TV. The story. People at home or whoever is going to watch this podcast they don't know the story, but it's real fast. I'm one of those people that was watching Bernie on TV, and the night that Joanna, my daughter, was born, everybody, including my high school buddy Ellen Manos, who delivered my first daughter, were watching the World Series in 1996 on TV while my poor wife was in labor. And Bernie, you hit one of those big home runs, Game 3, I think it was, and everybody, I heard all the way down Lenox Hill Hospital, that a boy, Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. Ellen Manos screaming at the TV, me screaming at the TV. And what does my poor wife do? And she's like, oh, wait a minute. What do you mean, Bernie? Hello? I'm giving birth here. And, minutes later, maybe it was because of that, Bernie. Maybe that's what happened that pushed things along. But, I felt so bad for her. But I swear to God, the entire hospital was screaming for you. And so, I just thought it's a fun thing that now that I'm getting to know you as a musician, I'm thinking about, oh, my God, this is an incredible way to connect two eras, two different types of lives, me as a fan and me as a musician, working with you. Let me bring you back to Manhattan School of Music for a second. Did you go through a 2-year program, or did you just take specific classes, or how did that go for you?
Well, I have to go a little bit back before that because a couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years before that, I started taking courses at SUNY Purchase.
Oh, okay.
And in SUNY Purchase, I really had this great experience with a guy named Rob Thompson and others that were there. And when I went there, I remember Rob Thompson asking me, but what do you want to do with this? I mean, I understand you want to, be a better musician and you kind of take courses, but what do you want to do with this? And that question really resonated in my mind for a long, long, long time. And I didn't really had an answer at the time, but I was able to take some of the courses. I took some courses on music writing, songwriting, harmony theory, and a lot of things started happening in my personal life that I had to put it on hold. It wasn't until maybe 5 or 6 years after that where I really felt that I was not going to go back to baseball. Not as a coach or manager or commentator or anything like that, that I was going to try to do something else with my life. And that's when I really started looking at schools. Manhattan School of Music sort of came to mind because there was a school that a lot of my people that I admire in the music industry, it sort of came out of there, whether it was a bachelor's degree or a master's or, a doctorate. And it is a funny story because I remember calling out of the blue at the admissions department. And I remember telling them, hey, my name is Bernie Williams, and I want to inquire about the process of admission and how do you get there? And they, oh, yeah, right, you're Bernie Williams. And I'm like, I'm the King of England, whatever. So they all thought that it was a crank call. But I made an appointment, and I showed up at the school. Mr. Justin DiCiocio was the head of the jazz department at the school, and he had the prior experience at the LaGuardia school as well. So he was the guy that was, very informative, and he gave me a written test, and he gave me an audition because they wanted to make sure that I was able to function in the school because, what they told me was that, this is really advanced, and you're going to go into a conservatory, so you need to know these things prior to being here. I'm telling you, none of the home runs that I hit, none of the gold gloves, none of the rings will help me going through that process. At Manhattan School of Music, I think that in that process was where I found, the whole purpose about going to school and being educated and being really immersed into the music aspect of my life. I found a great parallel in my sports life, and I found a story that I could tell that could benefit people. So I really started getting more into the education aspect of music as a tool to bring kids, to give kids an opportunity to be smarter and to utilize music not only as a source of enjoyment, but as a tool for education. To that effect, I've been, spending a lot of time working with different organizations, namely the NAM Foundation, Little Kids Rock, Turnaround Arts, and others, to make sure that I really kind of give this sort of gospel into thinking that music is and arts, for all that matter, are not only good for entertaining, but are supposed to be cornerstones of our education system, and kids will be a lot better to have music and arts, not as a second or afterthought,
Yeah.
as a really important part of their upbringing and their core part of their education.
Hmm.
That's the one thing that I found that it has given me a great purpose. And all the stuff that I
Yeah.
do, I always make sure that I mentioned, my relationship, and that's part of my music, as far as a tool for education and kids.
Oh my God, Bernie! I mean, I couldn't agree more. Bless your heart for saying that. I hope everybody who has children that hears you can really take to heart what you just said. I firmly believe that as well. You don't have to grow up to be a professional musician to get the deep benefits that you should be able to get from experiencing music and culture and art. And I appreciate so much the way you just put that. I firmly believe in it. So thank you for that. That's amazing. One of your foundations, you have that wonderful single that up here in our studio, Mark helped you a little bit with, just to put an extra solo on for one of your other foundations, which I'd love to have you talk about that, because people can go and find that single, right? It's released and
Yes,
it's out in the
the
world.
single was released, and we were so fortunate to have Jordan Sparks record the
Hmm.
voice. But it came out of a desire for me to pay this great tribute to my father.
Hmm.
And The song was part of this initiative that was created a few years ago, called Breathless, which alludes to idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is the disease that took my dad's life away in 2001.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
around 2015 or so, I created I was able to be in this partnership with Boehringer Ingelheim, which is a pharmaceutical company out of Germany. And
Hmm.
they developed this uh, way of treating idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and they have been in great contact with the Pulmonary Foundation, the Fibrosis Foundation, in organizations of that matter, to try to shed light into idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And to that effect, we created ways to make sure that we spread the word and
Hmm.
create some sort of awareness. And that's why this song sort of came about. I wrote the song very shortly after my dad passed away, like I said before, about 20 years ago. And
Wow.
the song sort of became sort of an anthem for this campaign. Well, but I mean, one of the things about the song was that the song was an instrumental tune that I wrote. I didn't really write lyrics to it.
Hmm.
So about 2 years ago, we sort of created this concept of having a contest to put lyrics to the song, and there were about more than 70 entries that came, from people from all walks of life. A fellow by the name of David DePino wrote lyrics that really touched a lot of people's hearts. We had a panel
Hmm.
evaluating all those lyrics, and there were, I mean, all of them were great, but
Hmm.
those particular ones sort of struck a chord in a lot of people's minds. So we
Yeah.
chose
Yeah.
those lyrics to be the lyrics that were the winner of the contest, and we sort of tweaked the lyrics a little bit, and we were able to introduce them into the song that I have already written for my dad. And that's basically the song. It's called Para Don Berna, to Don Berna, which is my dad's name, but with the lyrics became a different tune, and now it's called Breath of Life.
Hmm.
And that tune has been sort of, it was launched on Good Morning America about maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we
Really?
were trying
Ah.
to utilize it as one of those vehicles where people could listen to it and then maybe just learn a little bit more about this initiative that we have gotten ourselves into, and it has been a great success. People have listened to it. They know the tune prior because it was on the Journey Within record, which is the first record that I made. I mean, after 20 years, to have a song like that, I mean, it was never in the charts, or it wasn't really, it had a lot of personal significance to me. But now, after 20 years, you put new lyrics on it, and it's just had to sort of revive the whole thing. So I'm very pleased, and I'm very proud of what we have done with that.
Wow, yeah, and I hope everybody goes and finds it. And I know personally, having heard it here in the studio, it's a beautiful song, And of course, just like my theme of the day about Bernie's thoughtfulness, it's soulful and thoughtful. This is really who you are, Bernie. I mean, I watched you in the spring training game hit a ball about 470 freaking feet, one night. But yet all I can talk about right now is just really how much I'm moved by how soulful and thoughtful you are. And, and the bridges keep crossing back and forth. You played for two, what are now obviously from years of being teammates, two close friends in two ceremonies at the Hall of Fame, right? Didn't you? You played for Mariano, and I believe you also played for Derek Jeter. Did you not, or do I have that wrong?
Yes, that is correct. I played at Mariano Rivera's speech, Hall of Fame speech ceremony. And that was a really cool thing because I played the anthem, and then they gave me an opportunity in the middle of all that craziness to have a little moment to put my sort of pensive, reflective version of "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." I played it, which was a really interesting thing to say the least, because I mean, the crowd in the lawn of Cooperstown, that ceremony. Obviously, I mean, being Mariano was, flooded with Yankee fans, but there were other people there inducted as well. So we have like 10, 15,000 people out there, but I was not really too worried about those people. The people that I was worried about was the old geezers in the back in the dance saying, we know that you played baseball at some point, but we didn't know you could do this. So let's see what you can do. So it was great. I mean, as soon as I played, I had like high fives, like Bob Gibson and Roger Clemens and Randy Johnson and Joe Torre was there. So to me, that was a really, really cool thing. And then fast forward a couple of years after, Derek's ceremony had to be postponed because of COVID. At that particular ceremony, I brought one of my good friends, Richie Canada, which is a musical director of my all-star band, to actually play the anthem, and I was just accompanying him. And he was just like a kid in a candy store, man. He was probably one of the biggest Yankees fans that you will ever meet as well. And he was just taking pictures and just clapping, and he was like a little kid. And it was just a great experience, just be able to be there for them in this capacity. And I think everybody really appreciated that as well.
I like it was yesterday, I remember. And by the way, Bernie played on this permanent installation in the Hall of Fame that is it's called Generations of the Game. Bernie played some beautiful solos, and I remember we had one of my German colleagues in the studio, and Bernie was playing a solo, and up on the screen is Mariano, and this fellow's name is Flo, and he looked up on the screen. He says, "Do you know this guy?" And it was Mariano. But I got a chance to go and spend the weekend when that premiered with all these amazing ball players and talk about the film. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was hanging out with Juan Marichal and people like that. And Russ Velasquez, who got pulled up on stage. He was there, and that night there was a band playing, and I guess there are some really seriously amateur musicians in your colleagues, and I'm not sure which ball players, right off the bat, I can't think about who it was, but they were getting up on stage and singing half drunk, but then they said, "Come on, Russ, you got to get up." And then he played like a whole set with a bunch of people. But I mean, that was quite an atmosphere. And of course, with COVID, the last couple of years, there is no atmosphere like that, but maybe sometime they'll get back to that, and then there'll be this band there, and I'll go again and get a chance to play an extended set with a live band up there. It's
Oh
cool
yeah,
stuff.
looking forward to that. We had an opportunity to do that the night prior to the induction ceremony. The Hall of Fame committee hired me and my band to play the night before at a
Uh-huh.
private party for Derek and the rest of the people that were there. We stayed
Oh,
at the
nice. Yeah.
Osaga Hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That's a great place.
it
Yeah.
was just a great treat, man.
That's a
Having
killer.
Derek's mom and dad dancing in the middle of the dance floor,
Oh, that's
you know, his
killer.
wife, all the kids, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, you
Hmm.
name it. Everybody was there. The ones that could attend
Yeah.
really made a big splash, and they were all appreciative and sort of taken a little bit by. Now that in the last couple of years, I haven't been able to take people by surprise because they all know now.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Sure,
it is
sure.
it is an interesting conundrum for them
Hmm.
to see that guy that was able to play with them and compete with them going
Hmm.
to this different part of life and just putting as much effort as I did as being a baseball player. And they know that, I mean, none
Yeah.
of this stuff comes easy. I mean, it requires a lot of work and dedication. So a lot of those people are very appreciative of, this second part of my life and what I've been able to do with it.
Oh, I'm sure. And and that for people that don't know that you're such a good musician, you're throwing them a curveball. You should go up to Pedro Martinez in one of these and say, "Hey, pal, let me throw you a curveball," and then play some great tune. Just before we wrap up, because I know that the our link will has a time limit. I want to make sure. And Aisha, if we're getting dangerously close to like zip cutting off before we close out, you can tell me. But Bernie, what's your next appearance on stage with either your band or like the quartet that you mentioned with Will? What's next for you?
Well, I have several bands that I work with. I mean, we mentioned Gil Paris, and we
Hmm.
have a bit of a quartet thing going, which is it's really cool. I mean, Gil is a phenomenal player, and he was, in many ways, has been kind of like my mentor.
Hmm.
Uh, while I've been living here in Westchester, for the past 10, 15 years, I went to a jam in White Plains one night after a game,
Oh,
and we
yeah, yeah.
struck this great friendship, and he
Uh-huh.
sort of was very, very supportive and kind of, getting me out there and playing out live. So
Hmm.
we have this great friendship, over the years. So I have this thing going. I have the All-Star Band, which Richie Canada is the musical director, and I have this
Hmm.
sort of a reiteration, smaller ensemble called the Collective. And some of the musicians that are in the All-Star Band are in the Collective too. And I sort of make this more of an intimate version of my big band, and have an opportunity to have everybody sort of contribute to all the arrangements of the tunes. We
Hmm.
play original music and we play some covers. So
Hmm.
with that said, I also have been able to collaborate with different artists, which one of them, Matt Stalling, great violin player from Switzerland,
Hmm.
Grammy Award-winning artist, is having a concert at Yoshi's in Oakland, and he
Oh,
invited me to be a guest. So that's going to be towards the end of the month. So I'm also planning some things with Gil, perhaps at the Iridium for maybe a couple months from now, maybe perhaps March. But I mean, it's all kind of like sort of wait and see to see what new developments are going to happen with
hmm.
this pandemic and in the way that it opens up, and we can let people out and enjoy themselves and having a
Yeah,
good time collectively.
yeah,
In that same
yeah,
measure, things are going to be opening up for me and having more opportunities to perform with my music. So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to get rid of this, man. Everybody's so
Yeah.
tired of it.
Oh my God.
So,
And and I think it's going to drop off the table soon. I really do. I think, screw all this. You're right. Let's get back to life, right? It's enough. Enough.
I was the last person to take anything of this in consideration. So the
Yeah.
last thing that I would have
Yeah.
thought was that my ability to play music outside would have been hampered by this. And
Yeah.
I never saw that coming. But I now every time I do it, I appreciate it even more because it's very precious.
Yeah, it sure is. Oh my God, Bernie, this is the most fun talking to you. I mean, I knew it would be this much fun. you are truly, you're an amazing person. I got to say, getting to know you is special because I'm getting to know that thing that I've been talking about this entire time, this soulfulness and this kind of thoughtfulness that I'm speaking about. It's in spades. Everybody's listening to you, I'm sure, shaking their head right now. So I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for participating in this wonderful little sidebar to my life as a composer, to kind of engage people that I respect in conversations like this. So really, thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful thoughts today with us.
Well, it has been a pleasure, and I must add, I would be remiss to express my admiration for you as a composer and the fact that you have taken the time to listen to me and not and put all that sports thing aside just to try to get to know the real person. I think it's a great testament of who you are as a person as well, and your sound and the sound of your life, and I really appreciate to be in a small way part of that. And it's been a learning experience. And from the moment that I entered the studio that first time, listening to the music and your influences and the way that you approach it, it has given me, great inspiration in my own musical journey. So I really appreciate you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Bernie. And more to come. No question. Let's do a lot. Let's do a lot of stuff this year. Yeah. Once again, thank you. And I hope everybody enjoys this.
Absolutely.